Hi guys, Olive here. In today's video, I would like to talk to you about what I'm planning to read in March of 2019. It is like we're not in Kansas anymore, level of windy outside. If I slowly start to float away, you will know why. Per usual, I'm working my way through some of the book lists that I made for myself a while back. The first of those is my classics TBR that I make for myself every single year. And this month, off of that list, I will be reading Daniel Deronda by the one and only George Eliot. This is the only of her novels that she set during the Victorian era in which she herself lived. And right at the beginning of the book, we meet the two main characters, the titular Daniel Deronda and the selfish Gwendolyn Harleth, as she's losing all of her money at a roulette table. We then hop backward in time to see how both of these characters got to this moment before going forward to see how both of their lives will intertwine. I have really loved both of the George Eliot novels that I have read so far, so I'm really looking forward to this. Then, off of the 10 most popular books on my TBR list, I am going to be reading A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. This one has a very hyperbolic title, but from everything I read about this book, it seems that it basically sets out to be an introduction to the sciences, but everyone says that it's written in a really accessible and entertaining way. This is obviously a very popular book, but if you have been around my channel for any length of time, you know that's no guarantee that I'm going to love this book. But as always, I'm really hoping that I will. And then there's my 5-star nonfiction predictions list that I made during Nonfiction November last year. And I am happy to announce that off of that list, I am finally going to read the much adored Stiff by Mary Roach. This is another science book, but this one focuses on what happens to human bodies when they are donated to science. I've only read one other Mary Roach book, and I have to say that I do really enjoy her sense of humor, and I always love a good macabre piece of nonfiction. And speaking of that fact, I am also this month planning on picking up Still Life: Adventures in Taxidermy by Melissa Milgram. Melissa Milgram is a journalist who, for this book, took a deep dive into the world of taxidermy, which is preserving the bodies of dead animals to make them look lifelike still. It's seen as a bizarre hobby, but Milgram argues that it is actually the calling of a true nature appreciator. I have been so creepily excited to pick up this book ever since I bought it. Can you hear it? And a fiction book that I'm going to be pairing up with Still Life is a book that I just showed off in my most recent haul. That is English Animals by Laura Kay. This is about an Eastern European woman who comes to the UK thinking that she's going to work as an au pair for a couple, but instead she ends up helping them with their taxidermy projects as well as their multiple other business ventures. I thought that taxidermy connection would make this a good pairing for Still Life. It's just going to be a really morbid month apparently. On a lighter note, I'm feeling really inspired this year to pick up some of those booktube darlings that have caught my interest over the past couple of years. I normally shy away from books that are really hyped, but last year, some of my very favorite books of the year ended up being books that had been really hyped on BookTube, and I ended up kicking myself for not jumping on the bandwagon earlier. So this month, I am finally going to pick up The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. This one has been beloved across BookTube, not just for its gorgeous cover, but also for its great story. I'm hoping that after finishing this one, I will be singing in that choir of praise, even if it's much delayed. And speaking of singing, a book that has been giving me the siren call from my nonfiction shelves over here is Strapless by Deborah Davis. This is the history of this painting that John Singer Sargent did of a famous American socialite living in Paris. When Sargent painted her, he painted the strap of her dress as having fallen down her shoulder. I believe this was accidental when she was posing for the portrait, but when the final painting was revealed to the Paris of 1884, everyone was scandalized because they thought that the positioning of the strap had sexual implications. As a result, this woman's reputation was ruined, and this is a whole account of that affair. Listen, I don't watch reality TV for nothing. I love a good scandal, and I have been chomping at the bit for this one. And then there are two more books that I'm hoping to read. One was just recently published, and the other is due to be published in early March. I'm considering reviewing one or potentially both of them for Open Letters review. The first of those is In Putin's Footsteps, Searching for the Soul of an Empire Across Russia's 11 Time Zones by Nina Khrushcheva and Jeffrey Taylor. This is a nonfiction book written by the great-granddaughter of Nikita Khrushchev that attempts to paint a portrait of modern Russia. Obviously something that I'd be interested in reading and potentially writing about given my background. But I was also really taken in by the sounds of If Then by Kate Hope Day, so I requested a copy off of NetGalley. This is a debut novel about four neighbors who start seeing versions of themselves in parallel realities. I love a good brainy book, and the Tetris effect of this cover is really speaking my brain's language. So the only thing left to do at the end of this TBR video is to look at the 3 options for the random book off of my TBR. If you've never seen me do this, what I do is go to my to-read shelf on Goodreads and use a random number generator to select 3 books at random. Up until recently, I was the one who selected from those 3 options which book I would go on to read for the month. But not too long ago, I handed this choice over to my viewership. Those viewers who are willing and able to pledge some support to the channel are able to vote on which of the 3 I end up reading. A pledge of support that goes toward the operating expenses for this channel translates into 1 vote on the 3 random selections. So let's see what those options are. Option number 1 is Salt, A World History by Mark Kurlansky. Option number 2 is Lovers at the Chameleon Club, Paris 1932 by Francine Prose. And option number 3 is Mad Miss Mimic by Sarah Henstra. If you would like to and are able to pledge and would like to join in on this vote, I will link down below to where you can do so. If you pledge, you can join in on this vote, you can see which book wins, and you can potentially read it with me if the winning book catches your interest. But if you are unable to or just don't want to pledge, no sweat, you will still hear my thoughts on whichever book wins during my March wrap-up. I would love to hear from you in the comment section below if you've read any of these books, if you've heard about any of them, or if you're now interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them, or if you have any other general comments or questions, those can go in the comment section as well. But if you'd prefer to chat with me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!